Have you ever noticed how some women don't just like a man, they think about him, not casually, not once in a while, but late at night? When everything is quiet. And he's still there in her mind. Let me ask you something, and I want you to answer honestly in the comments. Have you ever been everything right for a woman and still felt invisible? Because if you have, this video is going to change how you see attraction forever. Let me say this clearly before we go any further: women are not complicated, they are patterned, and once you understand the psychological patterns behind female desire, emotional attachment, and obsession, something clicks. You stop chasing, you stop guessing. You stop performing, and instead, women start orbiting you. This isn't about looks, it's not about money, it's not about being the nice guy who always shows up and gets nothing back, it's about how her mind reacts to your presence. And today, I'm going to break that down, calmly, clearly, and without fantasy. Welcome back to the channel, brother. Today we're diving into one of the most misunderstood, and quietly powerful, topics in modern dating: how female psychology creates obsession. And how most men unknowingly turn it off. Not interest, not liking, not even love. I'm talking about the kind of mental grip where she replays your words, feels your absence, and starts wondering where she stands with you. And before anyone gets uncomfortable, let me be clear, this isn't manipulation. Manipulation is deception. What you're about to learn is awareness. Women already respond to these triggers, they just don't consciously recognize them. But once you do, you stop being replaceable. Shift number 1, stop worshipping her beauty, start activating her identity. Here's where most men fail before the conversation even begins. They see a beautiful woman and immediately bow to it. You're stunning. You're gorgeous. I've never seen someone like you. Sounds harmless, right? Wrong, because what you don't realize is this: her beauty is the least interesting thing about her to her own mind. Attractive women hear compliments all day, every day, from strangers, from coworkers, from men who want something. So when you lead with her looks, you don't stand out, you blend in, and worse, you position yourself below her psychologically. But here's where it shifts. Women don't obsess over men who admire them, they obsess over men who see them. Not her face, not her body, her mind, her perspective, her way of interpreting the world. Most men never touch that layer, because they're too distracted, and that's exactly why touching it makes you unforgettable. Imagine this: she shares an opinion about life, work, relationships, anything. Instead of reacting emotionally or flirting, you pause, you look at her and say, you know. Most people never think that deeply about things. I can tell you actually observe the world. That sentence does something powerful. It doesn't inflate her ego, it anchors her identity. You're telling her, I don't see what everyone else sees, I see what you hide. And the moment a woman feels understood, curiosity replaces control. She starts leaning in, not physically, mentally. This creates what psychologists call a value inversion. Instead of you trying to impress her, she starts wondering if she impressed you. That's where obsession begins, because attraction deepens when validation becomes rare. And here's the paradox: the less you comment on her looks, the more weight your words carry when you finally do. A single, calm line later, by the way, you are beautiful, hits harder than 1,000 compliments ever could. Why? Because it came from a man who wasn't begging. Shift number 2, when she moves closer, you don't chase, you stabilize. This one separates men who are remembered from men who are consumed. The moment a woman shows interest, texts more, opens up, gets a little attached, most men panic. They think, I can't mess this up. So they rush forward, more messages, more availability, more emotional exposure, and without realizing it, they collapse the tension. Here's the truth most men never hear: women don't obsess over men who match their intensity, they obsess over men who regulate it. Not cold, not distant, grounded. When she leans in emotionally, you don't disappear, but you don't surge forward either. You slow the pace, just enough. That subtle delay, that calm response, that moment where she expected urgency and got certainty, that's where her mind starts working. She wonders, why isn't he reacting the way other men do? Why do I feel slightly unsure? Why am I thinking about this? And boom, you're no longer an experience, you're a question. and the female mind hates unanswered questions. Most men are afraid to do this because they think distance equals loss, but emotional control doesn't push women away, it pulls them inward, because predictability kills attraction, stability with mystery creates it. You're not pulling away to punish her, you're staying centered in your own life. And that tells her something powerful: this man enjoys me, but he doesn't revolve around me. That energy is rare, and rarity is obsession's oxygen. Shift number 3, let her feel that you're chosen, not claimed. This is where jealousy gets misunderstood. Jealousy isn't created by flirting in front of her, that's insecurity disguised as confidence. Real emotional pull comes from unspoken value. When a woman senses, without you saying a word, that other women enjoy your presence, something activates, not fear, competition. Women don't want what no one else wants. They want what other women respect. This doesn't mean you brag, it doesn't mean you posture, it means you live a full life. You're social, you're relaxed. You're not glued to her reactions, and she notices. She feels it in the way you speak, in the way you move, in the way you don't chase reassurance. And once that awareness hits, she starts protecting her position emotionally. She invests more, pays closer attention, stops taking you for granted, because now, losing you feels possible, and nothing sharpens desire like potential loss, not threats, not manipulation. Just quiet self-worth. Shift number 4, the power of being willing to walk away. Here's a reality most men avoid: the man who's afraid to lose her has already lost control. Women don't attach deeply to men who cling, they attach to men who choose. When you carry yourself like you could walk away, not angrily, not dramatically, but peacefully, it does something profound. It tells her, I'm here because I want to be, not because I'm afraid not to be. That frame flips everything. You stop reacting, you stop negotiating attraction, you set the standard, and now she adjusts. This isn't about dominance, it's about self-containment. You're not threatening to leave, you're simply not afraid of staying alone, and that calm independence, that's what pulls her deeper. Shift number 5, become emotionally unpredictable, but psychologically safe. Let's clear something up immediately. Unpredictability does not mean inconsistency, it does not mean chaos, and it definitely does not mean hot and cold manipulation. Real unpredictability is subtle. It's when your emotional responses can't be reduced to a pattern. Most men are emotionally linear. If she's warm, they're warm. If she's distant, they panic. If she flirts, they escalate. If she pulls back, they chase. Predictable, readable, boring. And once a woman feels like she understands exactly how you'll react, the mystery collapses, the excitement fades. Because the human mind doesn't obsess over what it fully understands, women emotionally invest in men who feel layered. Men who are consistent in values, but dynamic in expression. For example, you're usually calm, thoughtful, grounded, then one moment, you tease her unexpectedly, playful, light, sharp, not needy, not forced, just different. That emotional contrast wakes something up in her. She thinks, where did that come from? There's more depth here than I thought. And now she's engaged again, not because you shocked her, but because you expanded beyond the box she put you in. Unpredictability works when it's rooted in confidence. You're not reacting to her, you're expressing yourself, and the moment she realizes she can't fully anticipate your emotional rhythm, she starts paying attention. Shift number 6, trigger her competitive instinct. Without saying a word, this one is uncomfortable for men who've been taught to disappear into loyalty too early. Here's the truth: women don't emotionally attach to men who remove all competition before attachment exists. They attach to men who feel chosen, but not owned. Most guys make the same mistake. They meet a woman they like, and immediately collapse their world around her. No social life, no other interactions, no visible independence. And while that looks respectful on the surface, psychologically, it removes urgency. It tells her, I'm already yours. And nothing kills desire faster than certainty without investment. Now compare that to this energy. You're socially active, women enjoy being around you, you're relaxed, not trying to impress, you don't announce it, you don't brag, you just exist in a way that attracts attention, and she sees it. She notices how other women respond to you, how conversations flow, how your presence carries weight, and suddenly, she becomes alert, not threatened. engaged, because now you're not just a man who likes her. You're a man who others recognize as valuable, and value that's recognized externally becomes more desirable internally. This activates her competitive side, she invests more emotionally, she watches more closely, she stops assuming your attention is guaranteed, not because she's insecure, but because she doesn't want to be replaceable. This is ancient psychology. Scarcity sharpens attachment. Shift number 7, give her attention, then remove it before she gets comfortable. This is where most men destroy everything. They finally get momentum, and then they overdeliver. Too many texts, too much reassurance. Too much emotional availability. They think consistency equals attraction, but here's the truth, attention without contrast becomes noise, it stops registering. What creates emotional imprint is presence followed by absence. Think about it, when something is always there, you stop noticing it, when it disappears, your mind searches for it. That's not manipulation, that's how the nervous system works. So when you give her focused, grounded attention, be present, listen, engage fully, then you step back, you don't announce it, you don't explain, you return to your life. That silence creates space, and in that space, her mind fills the gap. She replays conversations, checks her phone, feels the absence of your energy, and suddenly, she wants it again. Most men never allow this to happen because they're terrified of silence. They equate space with rejection, but silence, when earned, becomes gravity. The key is timing. If you're absent before connection, it means nothing, but after emotional presence, it echoes. Shift number 8, use silence as a signal, not a punishment. Let's talk about silence properly. Silence is not ghosting, it's not sulking, it's not emotional withdrawal from insecurity. Silence is non-reactivity. Most men talk too much, they explain, they justify. They rush to fix emotional tension with words, and every time they do, they give away leverage. The grounded man doesn't fill space unnecessarily. When there's a pause, he lets it breathe. When she tests, he doesn't overreact. When energy shifts, he observes before responding. That restraint sends a powerful signal, this man isn't ruled by impulse. And women feel that instantly, especially women who are used to emotional control. Here's the key, silence only works after presence. You must first make your attention meaningful, then, when it disappears, even briefly, it carries weight. She starts associating your presence with value, not availability, not predictability, value. This is Stoic influence, stillness over reaction, observation over impulse. And that calm, it unsettles emotional chaos, in a good way. Shift number 9. Gently break her emotional patterns. Every woman operates from emotional scripts, how men usually respond, how attention flows, how attraction escalates, and most men follow those scripts perfectly, which is why they're forgotten. The man who becomes unforgettable is the one who doesn't react the way she expects, not aggressively, not dismissively, gently. For example, she pulls back to see if you'll chase, you don't, but you also don't punish. You remain steady. She throws a subtle test, a jealous comment, a distance cue. Instead of reacting emotionally, you acknowledge it calmly, or ignore it entirely, and now her script fails. She expected pursuit, she got composure. That confusion isn't negative. It's engaging, because the mind pays attention to what doesn't fit categories. This is not about dominance, it's about presence with backbone. You're not trying to win the interaction, you're leading the emotional tone, and when a woman realizes she can't control your reactions, she starts respecting your center. Respect deepens attraction. Shift number 10, become emotionally untouchable. This is where everything locks in. Emotional untouchability doesn't mean emotional absence, it means emotional mastery. Most men are reactive, their mood depends on her behavior. Their confidence rises and falls with her validation. Women sense this immediately, and while they may enjoy the power temporarily, they don't attach deeply to it, because instability doesn't feel safe. The emotionally untouchable man is different. He feels, but he doesn't spiral. He listens, but he doesn't bend. He stays open, but he doesn't collapse. Flirtation doesn't inflate him, distance doesn't shake him. And that steadiness, that's magnetic, because now she's dealing with a man who contains himself, and self-contained men feel rare. To build this, pause before responding, detach your worth from her reactions, anchor your identity in your purpose, not her approval. When you stop needing emotional confirmation, you become emotionally expensive, and what's expensive is valued. Shift number 11, let her wonder, never let her feel certain too early. Here's a truth that makes a lot of men uncomfortable: women don't fall hardest when they feel secure, they fall hardest when they feel almost secure, not anxious, not unsafe, but slightly unsure. Certainty without investment kills curiosity. Curiosity is the fuel of obsession. Most men rush to clarify everything. What are we? Where is this going? How do you feel about me? They think clarity builds connection, but psychologically, premature clarity removes tension, and tension is what keeps her emotionally engaged. This doesn't mean you avoid commitment forever, it means you don't rush to define something before she's emotionally invested. When you let things unfold naturally, something interesting happens. She starts asking the questions, she starts wondering where she stands, and that internal dialogue, that private conversation she has with herself about you, that's where attachment grows. Men try to win women through certainty, but women attach through emotional curiosity. Let her feel like she's discovering you, not locking you down. Shift number 12, become the calm in her emotional storm. Every woman has emotional fluctuations, some subtle, some intense. Most men react to them, they try to fix, they try to soothe, they try to manage her feelings, and without realizing it, they position themselves as emotional servants. But the man who creates obsession doesn't react to emotional chaos, he stays calm inside it. When she's excited, you don't escalate nervously. When she's distant, you don't panic. When she's emotional, you don't absorb it, you stay grounded. That calm becomes something she feels, and that feeling, safety, not boring safety, attractive safety, the kind that says, this man isn't shaken by emotion, he can hold it. And women are drawn to men who can contain emotional energy without being overwhelmed by it. This is where obsession deepens into attachment, because now she's not just attracted to you, she trusts your emotional center. Shift number 13, stop seeking validation, let her seek it from you. This is where power fully reverses. Most men seek validation from women, they want reassurance, they want confirmation, they want emotional permission, and women sense that hunger instantly. But when you stop seeking validation, something flips. You still appreciate connection, you still enjoy affection, but you don't need it to feel whole, and that creates a vacuum, because now she starts seeking your approval, not consciously, emotionally. She notices when you pull back. She feels when your energy shifts, she wonders if she's still aligned with your world. That's not manipulation, that's self-sufficiency creating gravity. When you stop chasing validation, your presence becomes validating, and that's intoxicating. Shift number 14, make her feel chosen, not saved. This one is critical. Women don't want to be rescued, they want to be chosen. There's a massive difference. A man who saves her positions himself below her emotionally, a man who chooses her stands beside her, by choice, not obligation. You don't fix her problems, you don't carry her emotional weight, you support, but you don't absorb, you listen, but you don't lose yourself, and that communicates something powerful. I'm with you because I want to be here, not because I need to be needed. That makes her feel valuable without making you small, and women attach deeply to men who remain whole while being present. Shift number 15, detach from outcome, become outcome independent. This is the final internal shift, and once you embody it, everything else becomes effortless. Outcome independence means this: you enjoy her, you invest presence, you stay open, but you are not emotionally attached to the result. Whether she stays or leaves, you remain grounded. That energy is unmistakable. Women can feel when a man is afraid to lose them, and they can feel when he isn't. The man who isn't afraid, he becomes the prize, not because he's arrogant, but because he's anchored. Outcome independent men don't perform, they don't chase, they don't negotiate attraction, they invite, and women lean into invitations far more than pressure. The real truth most men never hear. Let's strip this down to the core. Women don't become obsessed with men who give them everything, they become obsessed with men who give them something to feel: mystery, contrast, depth, emotional safety paired with uncertainty. That's the paradox, and the reason so many men fail is because they try to shortcut this process. they try to do obsession, instead of becoming the man obsession forms around. Everything you learned here isn't about tactics, it's about identity. Once you change the way you hold yourself emotionally, women respond differently without you trying. Final integration. Who this makes you, if you apply this properly. You don't become manipulative, you become calm instead of reactive, centered instead of needy, present instead of performative, selective instead of desperate, and that changes everything, because now women don't feel like they're being pursued, they feel like they're being invited into your world, and invitation creates obsession far more powerfully than pressure ever could. Now let me ask you something, and I want you to answer honestly, which shift hit you the hardest? Was it silence, detachment, emotional control, or realizing you've been giving too much too soon? Drop it in the comments. Backhand index pointing down, comment the number of the shift that changed your perspective, and if this video gave you clarity, real clarity, not surface level dating advice. Then you already know what to do. Subscribe, not because of algorithms, not because of notifications, but because this channel isn't about chasing women, it's about becoming a man who doesn't have to. I appreciate you for being here, for listening, for leveling up. Stay grounded, stay disciplined, and I'll see you in the next one.